Some truths you uncover, never let go. Roc Nation forged an empire on dreams and silence, a shadow hiding behind the glamour of stars. To the world, it's red carpets, chart toppers, untouchable icons. I've seen the Elena Vargas Files, whispers of a pact, a mark that binds, not signs, talent. This isn't ambition. It's something older, something darker. I opened Elena's file on flight 217. The cabin shook. A shadow moved behind the diamond, watching me. Some truths don't just haunt you, they hunt you, relentless, binding, and they don't lead to answers. They lead to your final destination. Final boarding, flight 217 to Los Angeles. The intercom crackles, cold, absolute. Its tone slicing through the terminal's hum like a verdict from an unseen judge. The weight of the Elena Vargas Files drags at my shoulder, heavier than paper should be. Redacted reports, cursed audio, handwritten warnings from a woman who vanished, chasing Hollywood's darkest secrets. At our age, you learn some truths don't hide, they hunt. The air smells wrong, sweet, metallic, like blood scrubbed under bleach. I push through the crowd, pulse hammering. My ticket scans. The beep cuts through me like a blade. I board. The plane's hum is sterile yet off, like tape unraveling backward. Seat 14C, middle row. A brunette, late 30s, slides into 14D, smooth, unreadable. Her earbuds barely concealing the glance she gives me. I open my laptop. The Elena Vargas Files load. Their secrets flicker between code and curse. Elena's voice crackles through my earbuds. Low, fractured, tired. They bind them. The diamond is their mark. The screen spasms, fragments flashing in sequence. Rock, 4 seals. Sacrifice binds the voice. A black diamond flickers once. A heartbeat rendered in static. 4 seals. Revelation's shadow. A warning older than fame. The brunette glances sideways, holds my gaze too long, then turns away, as if pretending she didn't just recognize what she saw. I can't tell which scares me more, the files or her reaction. At this age, you sense patterns. Power isn't fame, it's control, etched in silence. The files hint at a pact, something ancient and hungry. But the truth stays buried in static. The plane jolts. Coffee spills, bleeding the word diamond across my notebook. Then the hum changes, no longer mechanical. Alive. A slow rhythmic chant rises from the floor, vibrating through bone. Overhead bins groan, swinging like cages. Lights flicker red, painting the cabin in pulsing dread. The brunette stays perfectly still. Her calm makes it worse. Another jolt. The captain's voice stutters. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing static, silence, then turbulence hits. A violent rolling slam that rips the ceiling apart. Oxygen masks drop, not from altitude, but like something summoned them. A woman screams, wind steals her voice. The fuselage splits, white fire pours through the aisle. I'm weightless, ribs cracking, blood flooding my throat. The brunette turns, serene amid chaos, flames blossom behind her. The black diamond burns into my mind, a seal breaking open, black. Final boarding, flight 217 to Los Angeles. Same voice, same tone, same static pop. I gasp awake in the terminal, seat upright, ticket in hand, shirt damp, mouth tastes of blood, though there's none. The diamond's pulse still throbs behind my eyes like a brand. I run. Don't board that plane, it's going to crash. People stare, phones lift. A TSA agent grabs me, another draws a taser. Sir, you're under arrest, disorderly conduct. You don't understand, it already happened. They slam me against a wall. Cuffs click, boots grind into my wrists. Then I see her, the brunette. She steps out of line, phone slipping into her pocket, brows furrowed. She hesitates, then walks toward me, slow, like she's following a hunch she can't name. A man in a hoodie slides into her place. The door closes behind him with a hiss final as a coffin seal. Outside, TSA drags me through the glass doors. Air rushes in hot and wrong for October, like breath from a furnace. She trails behind us, quiet, measured, eyes darting to the runway every few seconds. Then, a boom. The ground convulses, windows rattle, screams erupt. Inside, people scatter, bags tumbling. Smoke rises past the glass like a black halo. One agent drops his grip. Another grabs his radio, voice breaking. Flight 217 is down. I repeat, 217 is down. I turn toward the window. Fire flares across the runway. A wing stands upright like a broken cross. The plane that killed me is really burning. My premonition wasn't a warning. It was a recording of what's inevitable. The brunette steps beside me, not panting, not shocked. You felt it too, didn't you? I ask. She nods. Yeah, but I don't know why her voice is steady, too steady. Just a feeling that it wasn't time yet. Sirens wail as we stand in the shadow of smoke. Elena's voice echoes in my memory. The diamond is their mark, and once it chooses you. The brunette finishes quietly, eyes on the flames. It doesn't let. The brunette steps beside me, not breathless, not shaken. I saw you run, she says softly. I don't know why, but I had to follow. You felt it too, I ask. She hesitates, then nods. Yeah, but it wasn't fear. It was you. Like something was pulling me toward your knowing sirens rise behind us, smoke curling around our feet. Her presence isn't warm, but it's real. And now, for better or worse, we're bound by the same truth. The smoke from the runway still clung to the wind, even as the taxi pulled away from the airport curb. Sirens echoed like a delayed reaction. In the rearview mirror, flames danced behind the glass terminal. I didn't speak. I didn't look at her. She was sitting beside me, just as she had been on the plane, only now there was no aisle, no fuselage, no crash, but the one I still felt in my chest. She hadn't asked to come with me. But she had. I didn't ask why. Outside, the city smeared past in streaks of white and amber. The files on my lap pulsed with a weight that wasn't paper. Every breath inside that taxi felt borrowed. I saw it again, the truck, headlights in the dark, speeding toward us. I blinked. It was gone. She glanced at me, casual. You all right? I nodded, but I wasn't. And she knew it. The diner felt like it had no time of day, just neon that never stopped buzzing, an air that clung to your skin. She picked the booth near the window. I scanned the exits, sat down with my back to the wall. She smiled, lightly. You always pick booths like a cop. I didn't respond. The waitress filled our water glasses. The menu was laminated, greasy at the corners. She watched me instead of reading it. Back at the airport, what happened? You yelled about the crash before it happened. Her tone wasn't accusatory. It was curious, like a true crime fan getting too close to something real. I stared out the window. The lights of the street flickered faintly, like something old was watching. It started when I opened the Roc Nation folder. A soft chime jingled above the door. No one had come in. She blinked. Sorry, what folder? I looked down at the bag beside me, still zipped, still humming. The Elena Vargas Files. She leaned in, elbows on the table. What was in it? The lights above us flickered slightly. The air shifted. Cold drifted in from nowhere. Not contracts, not scandals. It wasn't business. It was ritual. She tilted her head, half amused. Come on. They don't sign artists. They bind them. The wind picked up outside. A chill slipped through the seams of the diner window. The chime jingled again. Jay-Z's name came up, not in full, redacted, but there were patterns. Phrases like sealed at emergence, young chosen, ownership of voice. Rihanna? She asked. I hesitated, then nodded. Mentioned in the same context. A victim, turned weapon. That's how Elena phrased it. And Beyonce? Silence. Always silence. Like she watched it all and decided not to move. Another gust of wind, a flicker in the corner light bulb, something sharp in the air, like an electrical current hunting for a point of contact. She shivered slightly, rubbing her hands together. Okay, you're creeping me out. She reached under the table toward the built-in heater bolted to the wall and fumbled near the valve, trying to warm her fingers. Click. A faint hiss. Gas. My nostrils burned before I even heard it. The air went sour, heavy. My stomach clenched. I froze. She didn't notice. I must have hit something. Does this thing even work? I stood, fast, heart racing, bag clutched tight. We need to leave. What? Why? I was already walking. Now. She slid out of the booth, confused but compliant. Her face carried a hint of guilt, like she thought she'd embarrassed herself. The wind slammed the door shut behind us as we exited. The taxi was still parked across the street, engine idling like it had never left. I waved it down. Okay, seriously, she asked as we crossed. What just happened? Did I hit a wire or something? I didn't answer. We got in. The second the door clicked shut, boom. The windows flashed orange. The sound came like a punch to the chest. The diner behind us lit up in fire and glass. A scream, cut off mid-breath, vanished in the shockwave. The driver cursed. I didn't blink. She turned to look. Oh my God! She covered her mouth. Was that the gas? You think I did that? I didn't look at her. No. My voice was low, final. It was already going to happen. She turned to face forward, her breath still quick. So you think we were, what? Meant to leave? No? Then what? It wasn't going to let us stay. She fell quiet. I stared out the window. Smoke trailed upward in the mirror, and for a moment I swore I saw a shape in it, a diamond, glowing faintly, then gone. The files in my bag throbbed again. She cleared her throat. Well, now you really have to show me those files. But she didn't press, and I didn't offer. The silence was heavier now. It wasn't guilt or trauma. It was the sense that something had followed us, not from the airport, not from the files, but from whatever was written behind them. The taxi's silence was louder than the explosion. I hadn't said a word since the diner lit up. Next to me, she finally cleared her throat. There's someone I used to know. Talks about stuff like this. Rituals, fate, spirits that follow. Might be worth hearing him out. I didn't respond, just nodded. She gave the driver an address. Old part of the city. The kind of place where roads moaned and streetlights buzzed like they were hiding something. Outside, the wind stirred again, but there were no trees, no buildings tall enough to bend it. Just a slow, whistling breath, like something chasing the car without ever catching up. The house leaned like it wanted to fall. A single bulb pulsed above the porch, dying and coming back. She knocked. Third tap, the door opened. The man who answered looked like he hadn't slept in a decade, skin pale, eyes cracked open like windows in a storm. He didn't speak, just stepped aside and let us in. You're not supposed to bring people like him here, he muttered, barely glancing at her. She shrugged. He's not people anymore. I didn't ask what that meant. Inside, the house smelled like burnt matches and mildew. Books sagged off shelves. Stacks of paper littered the floor like dried out leaves waiting for flame. He motioned us to sit. I stayed standing. He pointed at my shoulder bag. You opened the files? I nodded. You looked inside the diamond? I saw what was left of it. He gave a thin laugh. No humor in it. Then death's coming. She shifted slightly in her chair. I thought you said death didn't just kill, that it was summoned or inherited. He nodded. Sometimes it's called. Sometimes you inherit the debt. Dodge fate long enough, it remembers. Watches you. Waits for the next crack in the system to reach through. He bent down, rummaged through a drawer, and pulled out a laminated sheet. Held it up to the lamp. A diamond, black, 4 points. You've seen this, haven't you? I had. In Elena's files, in the Roc Nation folder, in the corner of every page like it was bleeding through. He tapped each point with a grimy fingernail. 4 seals, 4 names no one says out loud I already knew. The Horseman. He nodded. This ain't just branding. It's scripture with a label. The diamond doesn't represent power. It delivers it to the chosen. But someone pays the price. He looked at her again, sharper this time. She blinked, but didn't flinch. So, the plane crash? Should have killed you, he said. That was Seal 1 breaking. That flight was part of the ritual. But you survived, which means something else. Someone else has to die in your place. I felt my skin twitch, right between the knuckles. A sharp, crawling itch. Have you felt it yet? He asked. He clicked on a small UV light and passed it over the back of my hand. Beneath the skin, faint lines forming a jagged diamond, like something burned in, too deep to remove. What the hell is that? She whispered. The mark, he said. It'll darken each time a seal breaks. There was a noise outside. Wind, number, a faint tinkling, like a wind chime. But there was no chime on the porch. He went still, then slowly looked back at her. You too? She froze, or pretended to. What? You don't feel it yet, he said. But you will. We didn't stay long after that. Outside, the air felt heavier. The wind had stopped, but the silence hummed, like something invisible had been waiting just outside the door. She walked ahead of me down the sidewalk. So, what do we do now? She asked. I didn't answer right away. The mark burned under my skin like it wanted to speak. There are 4 seals, I said, and we just survived the first. We kept walking. Then I stopped. There has to be a way to beat this. The old man's voice echoed in my head. There are 3 ways to beat death, he'd said. 1, you die out of order. 2, you sacrifice a life to restore balance. Then he paused. 3, death can't take what it can't see. I'd stared at him. What do you mean? Death can't see you? He lit another match, fingers trembling. I don't know, he said. But if I were you, I'd figure that out fast. He leaned closer. His voice dropped. You mess with death, it gets real ugly. Now, standing under a broken streetlight, I felt it again. That weight in the air, like something watching from just beyond the veil, and something told me. It had already seen me. The street outside the old man's house was so still it sounded hollow, like the city itself had forgotten to breathe. We walked without speaking. Asphalt cracked under our shoes. The wind shifted once, just enough to make the street lamp sway, and then froze again. She was the first to break the silence. Her voice was softer than I expected. In your vision, who died first, me or you? The question came out like a confession. For a moment, I saw it again. The flash, the fire, her face framed in white light just before everything burned. I swallowed the image. I don't remember, I lied. She gave a nervous laugh, brushing hair from her eyes. Good, she said, half joking. Maybe that means it won't happen. But her smile was tight, and when the wind chime rang somewhere behind us, though no wind blew, she flinched. We didn't talk again until we reached her building. The elevator groaned the whole ride up, like it resented moving. Her apartment was dim, the kind of place that looked like someone had tried to leave in a hurry, but lost the nerve halfway through. Boxes half-packed, notes taped to walls, a mug of cold tea next to a laptop covered in sticky notes. She motioned for me to sit. The air smelled faintly of dust and peppermint. I don't usually bring people here, she said, filling the kettle. But after what we saw, her voice drifted off. She didn't finish the thought. I looked at the files spread across her table. Names circled in red. Photos of women, singers, dancers, influencers, all smiling, all young. Each page stamped with the same corporate logo, Roc Nation. Elena wrote that they don't sign talent, I said. They consume it. She turned, frowning. Consume? Young women, I explained. Fresh voices. Faces people trust. Their energy doesn't just sell records, it fuels something. The bigger they get, the more they give. And it all feeds upward. She leaned on the counter. Upward to who? I flipped to a photo torn from a magazine. Jay-Z at a gala, Beyonce beside him in gold, a diamond pendant glowing faintly against her skin. "They're not the top," I said. "They're the transfer, the keys that open it." She stared at the photo like she wanted to look away, but couldn't. "Beyonce knows?" "Willing," I said. "She's always been the voice." That's what the files mean when they call her the carrier. The ritual needs someone pure enough to draw devotion and powerful enough to survive the feeding. The kettle clicked off. Steam rose. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she asked quietly, "What's your name again?" "You already know mine," I said. "What's yours?" She hesitated. "Judy." The name hung in the air like static. Right then, the cupboard door behind her eased open. A lemon rolled out, bounced once, and tapped a spoon resting on the counter. The spoon slid, clinking against a stove knob. Click, hiss. Neither of us noticed. I was halfway through another sentence when I froze. Something sharp pricked my nose. Metallic, chemical. "Do you smell that?" I asked. Judy blinked. "Smell what?" I sniffed again, heartbeat climbing. "Gas." "It's gas," I said, standing. "We have to go." She looked confused, glancing toward the kitchen. "I can turn it off." "No." I grabbed my bag. "Don't touch it." "It's fine," she said, moving toward the stove. "It's just a leak." "Judy, leave it." But she was already there, fingers twisting the dial, brow furrowed like she was solving a puzzle. I didn't wait. I bolted for the door. The hallway light flickered as I ran. Every step felt heavier, like the air was thickening behind me. The stairwell echoed with my footsteps. I hit the second landing when it happened. A single moment of absolute silence, then a deep inhale, like the building itself sucking air. Boom! The blast threw me forward. Heat slammed my back. The railing bit into my ribs. I rolled down the stairs, coughing, ears ringing. Glass shattered above. Flames surged through the hallway windows. Smoke poured out in ribbons that twisted skyward, curling together until they formed a single shape, an uneven, glowing diamond. People screamed from the street below. Alarms wailed. Sirens rose in the distance. I stumbled outside, collapsing near a mailbox. The night was orange and alive. Her apartment windows burned bright, bursting one by one. "Judy!" No answer. Only fire. Only the hiss of escaping air where she used to stand. The diamond in the smoke pulsed once, twice, then dimmed. And I knew. Death had caught up. Hours later, I found myself in a roadside motel off the freeway. The room smelled like mildew and cheap detergent. I sat on the edge of the bed, clothes still singed, hands shaking. The television flickered static, even though it wasn't plugged in. I spread Elena's papers across the blanket. Names, coordinates, fragments of phrases. My eyes traced the same line over and over. The second seal is the voice. Maybe the explosion wasn't an accident. Maybe it was the ritual's answer. Judy's death wasn't random. It was the next step. Death had skipped her once. It corrected the balance. I whispered her name, though I wasn't sure why. Maybe to make sure she was real. "Judy," the word cracked like glass in my throat. That's when I heard it. A metallic scrape against concrete. Slow, deliberate, approaching. I turned toward the door. Nothing there. But the sound didn't stop. Rain had started outside, tapping on the motel's metal awning. I stepped into the alley behind the building, flashlight trembling in my hand. The puddles shimmered with orange reflections from a dying streetlight. Scrape, scrape, scrape. "Who's there?" No answer. I took a step back. Then something grabbed me from behind. A hand clamped over my mouth, cold, leather. I struggled, kicking, but another arm hooked around my chest, dragging me backward into the dark. The face that loomed over me wasn't human. A cracked pig mask, the snout streaked with dried blood. Black eyes stared from hollow sockets. A voice box strapped to the chest emitted a warped electronic chime, the same tone that had rung outside the old man's house, the same sound before the first seal broke. The figure leaned close, breath metallic, heavy. A gloved hand lifted something, a syringe catching the light. A single bulb flickered above me, swaying gently like someone had just left. My wrists were shackled to a rusted metal pipe behind my back. The room smelled like mildew, bleach, and something old, something wrong. It looked like a bathroom ripped from a nightmare, white tiles stained yellow, a drain in the center already rusty with stories I didn't want to know. My breath echoed too loud. I tried to yell. Nothing but a broken rasp came out. That's when the door opened. A figure stepped through, slow, steady, silent, tall, covered in a black industrial coat, thick boots stepping across the wet floor, and on its head, a cracked pig mask, the snout caked with dried blood. Its glassy eyes stared through me, into me. I struggled. Chains clinked. I kicked, screamed. The pig mask tilted. Then the figure reached up, removed the mask. It was Judy, her face calm, her eyes hollow. She knelt in front of me, no words, just watching me process the betrayal. "You got too close," she said at last. "Someone made the call." My jaw clenched. "What is this?" She stood slowly, brushing water from her coat. "This is your graduation." She paced the room like she'd been here before, like it was hers. "I followed you from the beginning. Watched you read Elena's files. Watched you survive the plane, the fire. I made sure you did." I froze. "You were following me?" Judy nodded. "I had to make sure death didn't take you too soon. It wanted you, but I needed you alive, long enough to end up in this cage." She turned and looked up at the ceiling. GR thought he was clever, thought he could save you. But there are two ways to escape death: outrun it or sacrifice someone else. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I found a third. Make death believe it already got you." I blinked. "You tricked it?" Judy stepped into the light. "There are no rules anymore. We're off the map." She walked to the far wall and pressed her palm flat against the white tile. A hidden panel slid open. Judy leaned in close. "I'm not their assistant. I'm their weapon." She turned to leave. "Wait." Judy placed the pig mask back over her face, climbed onto a rusted toilet tank near the back wall, and opened the high hatch leading out. Just before disappearing through the opening, she looked down at me. "Game over!" The door slammed.